to the third episode of the You Know podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and with the NBA playoffs right around the corner, you know I'm talking about the NBA playoffs today. I'm also going to be doing my NFL first round mock draft, and will the Tampa Bay Rays stay undefeated for another week? So we're going to start it off with the NBA playoffs. I'm going to talk about NBA playoff matchups since we have almost everything locked except for the 1 versus the 8 seed out west and out east. So I'll give you who I think is going to go there. Out east, Milwaukee and Miami. I think Miami's going to beat the Bulls. But let's just say the Bulls win. I think the Bucks have a lot easier series going through the Bulls. They don't have as athletic of a big man as Miami does, which is why I think Miami wins that game, and they'll be playing Milwaukee. So the series on the regular season series is tied up 2-2. I think having Bam Adebayo against Giannis is a big difference. Jimmy Butler is going to be guarding Chris Middleton and probably Grayson Allen and maybe some of the other guys. But regardless of that, Drew Holiday. How could I forget Drew Holiday? So he'll be guarding Drew Holiday, but I think Milwaukee obviously overpowers them, and it's going to be at least a 6-game series, though. Miami could definitely take some. If Miami steals one from Milwaukee at home, it's definitely going to 7. If Miami can't pull one out at home, it's probably over in 5. But we all know Jimmy Butler turns up in the playoffs. He averages about usually 20, at least 25, I think, a game easily. 6 rebounds, 4 assists in 97 games. Jimmy buckets. So if I feel like, I don't know if he's healthy. It seems like something's off. I don't know if it's the chemistry with the team or not. But if he's healthy, which I don't think he is, or something's up, but if they're playing good basketball, this series could easily go to 7. But if they're playing how they were playing against the Raptors, this game's going to be over in 4, maybe 5. Giannis is too dominant. Bam Adebayo is not going to stop him, but he needs to get some stops. If Bam Adebayo doesn't get stops, then there's going to be a huge issue, and Giannis is going to be dropping 40, 50 on their heads. But same token, Jimmy Butler could drop 30, 40, but I don't think he can do it as consistently and as long as Giannis. So that's where Bam's going to have to step up to guard Giannis and have to get these stops, but I don't see that happening. So I think Bucks win this in 5. Next up, we got the Celtics and the Hawks, which the Celtics lead the regular season series 3-0. The Hawks are a gritty team. I feel like they don't play defense very well, in my opinion. They do play offense pretty good. They need a wing, someone like a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown on that team. I just don't think Trae Young's enough, and John Collins isn't dominant enough in the post to be a big enough factor for teams. So this series is going to be a 4-0 sweep. I know the Celtics tend to come out a little cold after a couple of days of rest. So I could see the Hawks stealing one first game. Highly doubt it. It would be a close game. It would probably be probably want to somebody missing a shot at the end. But for the most part, 4-0 sweep. If they come out hot, I'm a Celtics fan, so we come out hot. We're going to come 4-0 sweep, which would be nice to have a real quick series so they can continue the playoff run and they're not too gassed out, which is what I think happened last year. They had so many series that kind of went a little bit longer than they should have, and that you could tell in the finals they just looked gassed. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a good matchup. I was hoping it was the Hawks instead of the Heat. I don't want to play the Heat. The Heat always play the Celtics super tough, so I'm glad we got the Hawks, but nonetheless, the Hawks are still a good team, but we obviously know the Heat are a better team. But 4-0 sweep. Next, you got the Sixers and the Nets, which this is a very interesting series. I think Michael Bridges is the factor in this one. If he is playing how he has been playing lately, this series could go to 7. I think people are sleeping on Brooklyn. because with the record they were left, they basically stayed the same where they were at win percentage wise. But Michael Bridges is going to have to play 7 games, ball out for 7 games, and the supporting cast is going to have to show up as well, which I don't think they can do. I think Joel and James Harden win this series 6 games. It's going to be a tough fought series. It's not going to be a cakewalk, but James Harden, he's been playing really well. Again, assist leader with Joel, who was probably to potentially MVP and going to be the scoring leader. So to have those two on the same team, I think they have to. On to the West. Out West, we have Denver at 1 with, I think, Minnesota's going to come through and win. Now, the Thunder did have a great comeback, but I think with having Rudy Gobert back, they're going to win. They're going to beat the Thunder, no question. It's going to be a good game, but I think second half, Timberwolves are going to pull away, and we're going to see the Timberwolves playing the Nuggets. Now, this series is actually tied up in the regular season. There were a couple injuries that Denver had, as well as Minnesota, so take that how you'd like, but the latest game that they played was before the All-Star break, and Denver beat them 146 to 112. 146 points. So I think this is going to actually be a hard-fought series. Denver's going to come out of this, but it's going to be a 6-7 game series. They have a lot of talent, but I just don't think they get over that hump. They played great all year, don't get me wrong. But the playoffs is just their kryptonite. If they can get out of this series 4-0, they'll be in a lot better shape for the long run. I just don't think Denver's cut out like a team like the Warriors who have been there. So there's a lot of doubt in my mind that I don't think they'll make it again. So this series could go 6 games or 7 games. I'm thinking 6. Denver pulls it out, and they move on to the next round. Jokic is not going to let his team lose in the first round. If they lose in the first round, this is another situation where do you blow it up? And that will be talked about if they lose in the first round. We're definitely talking about that. Next, we got Memphis and the Lakers. Another series that I think people might be overlooking or might be overhyping. It's kind of, I'm in the middle. I think it's going to be a good series. I don't think it's going to be I'm an Eastern Conference guy. So if you're a Western Conference guy, this is probably going to be a lot more exciting series for you. These two teams have had that rivalry, the whole Shannon Sharp thing. So it's going to be a great series. This could go either way, honestly. LeBron in the playoffs, I'm a LeBron fan, so LeBron in the playoffs is a problem. I think Anthony Davis is healthy. The Lakers have been playing some really good basketball lately, but the Grizzlies have some injuries as well. Not getting Steven Adams back is going to be tough, so it's going to be a tall task for Jaren Jackson to step up and get some stops on AD. If he can do that, this series is going to be a 5-game series. If they're struggling, it's going to 7, and either team could win this series. But if Memphis comes out and they're playing AD pretty well, then 5. But I think everybody, including myself, I want to see this go to 7, and I could see the Lakers upsetting the Grizzlies. I like Ja Morant, but he just doesn't have. He needs another guy with him to take them to that next level. So I would love to see. I like seeing LeBron in the playoffs. So let's just say Lakers beat the Grizzlies. Now the West is so much more interesting than the East. The first round, I feel like, one, because it didn't get locked until a couple of days ago. So now you're getting all these teams that are similar in record, with exception of the top 3 teams. They had a little bit better record, but everybody else is similar in record. So now you got the Kings who are 4 games ahead of the Golden State Warriors by record. Now the Warriors lead the series 3-1. The regular season series 3-1. Sacramento, they were all close games, within 5, within 3, within 7, and then Golden State, the last game, April 7th, which was this past week, they beat them pretty bad. So this is going to be a really good series, another 7-game series, which we could see an upset. I think Golden State could win. They know how to play in those situations, like I said in my previous episode. They know how to play in those situations where they don't get frazzled, which a team that just made the playoffs since '06 could. So we'll see. I think I like that. That's probably the most interesting matchup in the entire first round. I'm going to be watching that one. I'm going to have to stay up late because I'm on the East Coast, but I'll watch it, and I'm excited for that one. That is my I'm looking forward to the most matchup, Golden State versus the Kings. A very young team versus a veteran team. So it's going to be really interesting. Then you got the Phoenix Suns and the Clippers. Another good series. I don't think it's as interesting as people are making it with Paul George being injured. What's going to be interesting is Kawhi and Kevin Durant matching up for the first time in the playoffs ever. So that's going to be interesting, but I think ultimately the Suns are going to win that. It's going to go to 6 or 7 unless the Suns can come out real hot. They've been playing really well with KD. I think it's too small of a sample size to say that they're going to just dominate them. The regular season series is tied 2-2. First game they played, the Clippers lost by 7, and then the next game they lost by 6. Then they won by 11, then they won by 5. So it's going to be a good series. It's going to go 2 at home, and then if someone can steal one at 6, that's going to be key. But if they can't, then it's going to 7. I would love the Suns to have to struggle and have to go all the way to 7, and then they're tired for the rest of the playoffs. I don't like the Suns either. I don't like Kevin Durant, so I think they still go through though. 5 games, the Suns win it. With the injury to Paul George, it's just they don't have enough anymore. All right, so that was my first round NBA playoff matchups and what I thought about them. If you want to know my NBA predictions, go back and check out my previous episodes. I have that in there. You can see who I think is going to win the NBA championship, and you can leave a comment in the YouTube video if you want to let me know who you think is going to win. All right, so starting at 11 with the Tennessee Titans. Now, after they traded A.J. Brown, they need to replace this position, and Quentin Johnson from TCU is a great pick. I watched him in the bowl games, especially against Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan. So he played really well. He's really explosive. He's quick. He's good in the open field. So this is going to be a good pickup for them. They still need a quarterback. I don't know if Malik Willis is the future quarterback for the Titans or Ryan Tannehill for that matter. They definitely need to make something happen there, and soon. They got Derrick Henry in the backfield. They're going to get this guy at wide receiver. They need to do something. The fan base is getting a little antsy, especially with Derrick Henry coming up on some couple years, maybe 2-3 years. He's definitely not going to be who he is now. I don't think in 2 or 3 years, probably closer to 3 or 4, in my opinion. The Titans need to fill that spot, so that's a good pickup. Next is the Houston Texans, and DeMeco Ryans is all about defense. I'm a 49ers fan. I know about DeMeco Ryans. So he's going cornerback, Devin Witherspoon. He could possibly swap. I have Christian Gonzalez going before him. Just the Raiders, I think, might like him a little bit more. So I think the Raiders are going to draft him. But if it's flopped, they're still getting a cornerback there regardless. Jets, they need some more defensive help. They have some young guys, but I think having depth at that position is going to help huge for them. And offense is taken care of if they get Aaron Rodgers. So they're definitely going to go defense. I hope for Jets fans they get Aaron Rodgers just because it would be so messed up if he doesn't go there. So I do think they go and get a cornerback to help. And this one might be a shocker, but I have The New England Patriots drafted Will Levis from the Kentucky Wildcats. I think they're drafting him because they want to bring in somebody young that would give Mac Jones some competition. Mac Jones needs some competition. He's just been kind of sitting back and like, I got the job. They brought in Cam Newton. He couldn't get it done. Mac Jones was back. So I think this is a good pickup for them. They need some other things, but I feel this is a good backup option just in case Mac Jones is injured or he's just not who they wanted him to be. Next, I got for the Green Bay Packers, I got them drafting Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. Him and the rest of that wide receiving core is going to be a problem to help with Jordan Love to have that many weapons coming into your first year as quarterback, taking officially being that guy in Green Bay. That's going to be huge for him to have so many weapons around him. Christian Watson, him, and then they'll probably get another guy late, I could see. But bringing him on, that's a crazy, young, really good wide receiving core. With the next pick in the draft, the 16th pick, the Washington Commanders select Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. Now, I think he is a little bit more raw than some of these other cornerbacks. He definitely needs a little bit more work. I've watched him a lot this year since I'm a Big Ten guy. So he's good, very athletic. He's going to be a good cornerback. He's going to a spot where I don't think they've developed players really well. But him with Chase Young there on defense, it could work really well. I hope they get some guys that can develop him because he is – I think he's the most raw out of everybody, and his ceiling's the highest. So if he can get somebody that can coach him up pretty well, maybe they bring in another veteran to match up with Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, and then they get a safety to help over top. This defense is going to be so young and really good. I'm excited. If they draft these guys, this defense is going to be super scary in 2-3 years, even could be first year. So I'm excited. Lines are going to be trending upwards for a couple years. Next pick is the 19th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going to tackle. They need offensive line. Baker Mayfield's their quarterback for now. Anton Harrison, Oklahoma. Tackle. He's big. He's athletic. I like some of the other guys before him a little bit more. They're a little bit more agile. I feel like they're a little bit more consistent. But this is a good pickup and a good start for the Buccaneers because their offensive line is a little shaky. Next is the 20th pick, the Seattle Seahawks, going Nolan Smith, edge from Georgia, to pair up with his good friend Jalen Carter from Georgia. So these two on the defense, they already know each other really well. To be able to draft both of them together would be huge, and it's already a foot in the right direction. Seattle's all about defense. This is what they're going to do. They're going about to build their defense just like the 49ers do, just like the Rams do. The Cardinals try, but their offense isn't there, so it doesn't help. So that whole NFC West is all built on defense. Next, the 21st pick is the Chargers, and they're going to draft Khalid Kancey from Pittsburgh. Sorry if I messed that name up. I haven't heard too much about him. Every guy past about 20 is guys that I've heard about, looked up, and might have seen play a couple of times. I don't watch Pittsburgh too much. I don't watch too much ACC football, but he's good on the interior, and this is what they need to pair up with Nick Bosa. I feel like their defense was lacking an interior guy, and he's a good pickup for them. I was watching some of his highlights, and he can really just bust through the line with ease. He reminds me of another guy that we're going to mention later in the draft. The next pick, with the 22nd pick, the Baltimore Ravens are going Myles Murphy from Clemson. Another guy that could go sooner, could go later, but he's a great pickup for them. I feel like their defense needs another edge guy. He's 6'5", 276 pounds. He's young. So I think to pair him up with what they already have is going to be huge. They already have a lot of experience, so they're just going to mold him, and I could see him being a top 10 pick, not top 10 pick, but a top 10 guy from this pick when they do the redraft in future years. Next pick, 23, the Vikings. Broderick Jones, tackle. The Vikings need line. They've needed line for a couple years. They're finally going to address it. This guy, if you watch SEC football or watch any football, college football, he's a beast. For how much Georgia passes the ball and runs the ball, he's already been used to some pro sets, some pro type style defensive looks. So this is a great pickup for them. Kirk Cousins needs some protection because it was pretty bad. Next pick, 25, the New York Giants. Brian Bresee from Clemson. Got a couple of Clemson guys and a couple of Alabama guys going this first round. New Giants, some people think they're going to go offense. I think they're going to go defense. They need to really beef up their defense. I feel in past years their defense was one of those intimidating teams that used to play them and they were going to be gritty, tough, physical. I don't see that in the past 5 years with the Giants. They need to rebuild and rebrand how they play defense. It's been lackluster, to say, the past couple years. Next, another tackle's going to the Cowboys at the 26th pick. Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. He's a little inconsistent. He got exposed against Michigan, and the Cowboys are another team that needs to start building their line back up. Cowboys had one of the best lines about 3-4 years ago, and now they have bottom tier line. So they definitely need to start building on that again. This is a big pickup for them. Next is at 27, the Bills. And they're picking Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State, cornerback. They needed a guy to pair up with Jordan Poyer, who he hasn't gotten a lot of help in recent years on the other side. So this is good for them. Their defense needs some more pieces. I think their offense is okay with what the moves they made. So I think this is the best move for them, is going defense and a cornerback, especially getting a young guy. You're not horrible at cornerback right now. So if he, blossoms early, you could throw him in there and you'd be good to go, but you might not see him starting right away. Next, the Bengals get a guy that I really like, and that is Mazi Smith from Michigan. He's a beast. He reminds me a lot of Kalaje Kansi from Pittsburgh, but Mazi is a little bit bigger, and I've watched him all year being a Michigan fan. I think he's a better overall player, but he doesn't fit the scheme for what the Chargers are doing, which is why I think he falls to the Bengals, running the 4-3 that the Bengals do. So that Mazi Smith, Michigan, is staying up north, but going to a state that he hates, and they're picking Felix Uzomah from Kansas State, edge. This guy's a great defensive end. He was the Big 12's 2023 Player of the Year, or 2022, Player of the Year, and he was first team All-American. So he's a great player. The last couple of defensive ends that the Saints have picked haven't turned out to be too much. Marcus Davenport has been okay, but besides that, I think, I forget his name, he got drafted, I think, 2 years ago, and he got injured, and he was on the IR, and we haven't seen him since. So, again, next is the Eagles, and they're going offensive line again. Their offensive line is getting a little bit older, and they need to have some depth. They have no depth right now. So they're going to draft Osiris Torrance from Florida, who has also been in the SEC, seen some defensive schemes from NFL defensive schemes, and can move the way that I think the Eagles need to. With having Anthony Richardson at quarterback, I don't want to make a comparison, but they're similar, but obviously Jalen Hurts is mounds better in my opinion. Anthony Richardson is mobile and he can throw on the run. And Osiris Torrance being in that offense, this is big. And he's going to be able to translate how he played in college to offense pretty well with the Eagles offense. Last pick of the first round is the Chiefs, and they're picking a tight end, Michael Mayer, Notre Dame. Now, like I said, there's a couple of other tight ends that I like, but I don't think they would get drafted this early. So this is just insurance for Travis Kelce. This guy is a good backup. I think he could develop into a similar type player as Travis Kelce. I don't think he's going to be as good. So I think he's about the same size. He's a little bit shorter, but he's about 15 pounds bigger. By the time he gets drafted and he's playing the NFL, he'll probably be about 250, 255. They'll make him shed a little bit just to get lean. I think we'll see him playing similar to how Travis Kelce does, and this is why I think they draft him, just to get a guy. Travis Kelce is getting a little bit older. You don't know how long he can stay productive as well as healthy. So I don't wish anything against Travis Kelce. He's a great tight end, but this is just how the NFL goes. And with that wraps up my NFL first-round mock draft, and I hope the last thing we have to touch, I don't think they can. As awesome as that would be, it would be a historical start, but I don't think they can do it. They are currently up 9-3 against the Red Sox. It's the top of the ninth, so that is about wrapped up. They play the next two series are the Blue Jays and the Reds. Now, the Blue Jays are a lot better team than the Reds, so the streak will get snapped. It's just a matter of when, and I think it's going to be next week or this weekend, the end of this weekend, when they play the Blue Jays, who are right behind them in the American League East. Some of the other hotter teams in baseball, everybody else is almost at 8-4, 9-4. But I think the Atlanta Braves, they're starting to get hot. They just sweep the Reds. But once they get their pitching healthy, I think they're going to be up there with the Rays starting. Rays are going to come back down to earth, and the Braves are going to start emerging as a really good team. If their bullpen can stay healthy and the rest of the team can stay healthy, the Braves are one of those teams that I feel like are just always getting hurt for little things. So I'm excited for this year. It's starting out really well. Games are a lot more exciting with the rule changes, and I'm actually looking forward to going to some more games live. I'll be back next Friday with more on the first round of the NBA playoffs, the NFL draft, and if the Rays are making history or not. As always, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you follow me on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Just search the You Know Podcast, and on Twitter at YouKnowCast23. I hope you have a great week, and if you didn't know, now you know.